So, may I have your attention again? We'll continue because this morning we heard many interesting insights about the instruments, some of the results, statistics. Then we heard about actual examples of projects. How are they collaborating? What challenges they face? What success cases they will have faced and collected? Now we want to take a look at how can i3 instruments help and spur and support regional growth. What's the connection with regional development? We saw the differences in different regions, less developed regions, moderate transition regions, advanced regions. So how can i3 instrument actually help, not just collaboration at project level and the SMEs, but help the regions in their development? And for that, I want to introduce to the stage Antonio Novo, President of the European Cluster Alliance, who will be the next moderator. Antonio, please come. And yes, go ahead and you can introduce the panel members.
Is it working? Hello? Hello? Can you hear me? Yeah, okay. Thank you, and hi everyone. I'm really excited to be here with you, speaking out this, specifically this topic, because you know it's absolutely critical for us, the alignment between not only between national and regional strategy, but also at the European level, and how do we do it in practice? That is the topic for discussion, or not. We do it or not in practice. So I'm very happy. I'm very glad to share this conversation with five, I don't know, excellent five, because I don't know if we are missing two still, okay? 3 or 5. Excellent speakers. So I invite to join me first Artur Bobonicki. Hi, Artur. Okay. So with a very strong background in engineering and telecommunication, Artur Bobonicki works as a project manager at the Department of Innovation and International Relations in the Slovak Innovation and Energy Agency. In the past decade, Artur has focused on fostering innovation in Slovakia. He has played a key role on developing its national innovation ecosystem and securing funding for strategic projects, both public and private. I need to say that I had the pleasure of collaborating with Artur for 4 years in the Cluster Expert Group, DigiGrow. It was excellent to be there with you. Thank you, Artur. So, would you introduce yourself?
Okay, thank you. Thanks for having me here in this panel. Thanks for being invited for this event, because for us it's a first time experience with i3. Okay, Slovak Innovation and Energy Agency has been established in 1952. I think we are among the oldest agencies of this type in Europe. And we have a long track record of working with energy-related topics, especially in the area of energy efficiency. We are also managing authority for structural funds in Slovakia with the topics of energy efficiency, renewable energies, and etc. Our department where I am working now is innovation and international cooperation goes beyond energy, because we are extending our work on the topics like digitalization, which are among the strategies of i3 anyhow, or the key priorities of i3 as well. So we are working on different topics and we are very much involved not only in key priorities, but also on horizontal level, because we are supporting clusters, our joint past with Antonio. We are supporting clusters in Slovakia as well. We are located in Bratislava, our headquarters, and Bratislava is a unique city together with Vienna and Budapest, because we create very, well, it's the heart of Europe, triangle where the cross-border cooperation can really flow and flourish. And our project, Elevate CE, is based on 3 countries, Hungary, Austria, and Slovakia. We don't want to create again Austrian-Hungarian empire, definitely not. But I think there are still a lot of connections, at least distance between the countries. So we are focusing on hydrogen. Hydrogen in in everywhere, I think it's very difficult child. Some people love that, some people hate that. And it's up and down probably in every country. The support is growing, then it's declining. BMW introduced recently the X5 with hydrogen engine. That could help again to grow because people love BMW usually. So I think we are trying to make ecosystem for hydrogen growing in all 3 countries. And i3 is perfect tool for that. I think that's for beginning enough.
Excellent introduction, Arthur. Thank you. We will speak more about that project. It's, I think, a very good example of cross-border collaboration and coordination. I don't know if we have with us Stefan Markovic.
Yes.
Ah, here you are. We were worried about you. Okay. Stefan is an expert in smart specialization processes, strategic planning, and the programming and coordination of EU funds in Croatia. He currently serves as the head of service for the coordination of EU centralized instruments and the fulfillment of enabling conditions at the Ministry of Regional Development on EU funds, contributing to the programming of a mission-oriented approach to innovation for Croatia industrial transition regions. So, welcome, and please introduce yourself.
Thank you. It's working. Yes, very thankful also to being here and having this opportunity to present what are the efforts that we have been doing in Croatia in regards of the industrial transition processes. And in relation to the i3 instrument, it's mainly the efforts have been focused on having these regions catch up and raising their competitiveness to then later be prepared for interregional cooperation on the theme of innovation. I work at the Ministry of Regional Development and EU Funds, which has a very specific role. It's the coordination body for the implementation of the structural EU funding, in charge for the ERDF and Cohesion Fund, but it also has a coordination role for the implementation of all national policies. So in Croatia, you have a very strong relation of national policies being implemented through EU funding. And what we have done in the current financial perspective is having a specific regional program for territories with specificities in Croatia, and one of the largest priorities is the industrial transition of regions that are lagging behind the EU average. And those are 3 regions, so we have developed strategic framework trying to identify the potential of those regions for innovation opportunities, identifying which are the core stakeholders and having them talking about these priorities, structuring in the plans for industrial transitions, which were the ground paper for the implementation of the EU fund. So the main efforts are streamlined towards having strategic partnerships for innovation, so consortia, developing innovative solutions and products, connecting large firms with innovative SMEs in these efforts to implement those solutions in those specific territories. And you also mentioned the mission-oriented approach, which is one of the most recent efforts that we have been implementing, trying to link the TRL9 readiness level or the testing of the innovative solutions with societal challenges identified within those regions. So trying to connect the consortia, the supply and demand side in trying to be more closer to the commercialization of those innovative solutions. So that's it for starts.
Thank you. It's very important, very, I would say, clever from the organization today to have selected so interesting mix of national responsibilities, you know, over regional strategies. It's something that is coming also in the future.
I believe that it is also a specificity of Croatia because we are not that big of a country, but we have lots of potential. We are very different depending on each of the regions in Croatia. So our ministry has the opportunity to talk also on the national level, regional level, but also on the county level. So we have developed a really flexible mechanism for that discussion happening, and I will try to talk about it more later, maybe.
Many of us are wondering about how that will be organized in the future, so it will be very good discussion on this point. Okay, and now, Tanya. Tanya. Is Tanya? Sorry? Tanya. Okay. With a long and extensive experience in research and innovation policy, Tanya Alova-Perglova is the Czech delegate to the EAC-EAE Program Committee of Horizon Europe, the deputy high-level representative of the Czech Republic to Eureka, and also co-chair the HIRA Forum subgroup on access to excellence and research and innovation and cohesion, managing authorities network, RIMA. So, excellent curricula. Please tell us about you.
Yes, good afternoon. So my contribution might be a bit different because my perspective is a bit different. I'm coming from a national agency which has nothing to do with cohesion funds and nothing to do with I3. But I had the pleasure to co-chair the subgroup of ERA Forum, which was called RIMA, and which was there actually to bring cohesion policy people in research with people who work on research on national level, like funding agencies. And I think that lots of findings of this group can be implemented and are very relevant also for this forum. So one of them is actually that we have quite fragmented ecosystem. It is historic, but it is also currently. We put all the efforts to put ourselves together to cooperate, but still we are fragmented. On the level of the synergy, on the strategies, the alignment of strategies, I think that it works very well. Actually, on national levels, we try to align with the European Commission. On regional levels, we cooperate with the national levels, and we align perfectly on strategies. But once it comes to the implementation, there is the fragmentation, because we all have our own strategies, and we all implement them in different levels. So suddenly, what actually worked on the political and strategic level does not work on the implementation level, because then all the regions are trying to find the instruments and the programs that they will develop for their SMEs and for their beneficiaries. We do the same on the national level, and the Commission does exactly the same actually on the European level. So what shall be the solution? Well, maybe we shall talk more to each other about what we are doing. Synergies might be the solution, but let's be fair. The synergies are also on political level very well. Like said, everybody is keen about synergies, but on the implementation level, we are lagging behind. The beneficiaries, they can do synergies because they are looking for money, they are looking for innovation and doing new things, and they are looking for partners. So they know how to find instruments and how to find money and how to build synergies actually in funding. But we as policymakers, I think that we are still lagging behind, because on the implementation level and among the beneficiaries it may work, but still we are unable to exploit the full potential of the synergies from the strategic point of view.
Excellent. I will take the opportunity to share with you. I am one of the members of the S3 expert group, and we made a report on synergy that we presented to you in the RIMA group. Okay, it's public. You have it in the S3 Community Practice website, and it's an analysis of precisely what you just said. It's excellent in theory, not so easy on practice. It's very much related also with current efforts from the Commission on Simplification. But it's true that simplification sometimes is against the specifics of regional levels. So it's a very complex topics. So good, very interesting. Okay, and now we welcome Marko Popovic. Welcome, Marko. He's a senior project manager specializing in cultural creative industries with extensive European Union projects expertise. Currently working at Creative Industry Košice, Marko develops and executes international projects through Creative Europe, Erasmus+, Horizon, and Interreg funding schemes. Marko, please.
Hello, thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm very grateful that I can be here, and also very grateful that we have an opportunity to present one of the very few Slovak projects, Labor for Future projects that are E3 supported projects. What we bring is maybe totally different perspective and a little bit different approach. We are coming from a city level, basically, Creative Industry Košice, and Košice is the second biggest city in Slovakia on the far east, very close to the Ukrainian border. So we are basically a city organization established by the city as an NGO to deliver a European Capital of Culture project back in 2013. Košice was a European Capital of Culture, and after that we basically continued to support culture and creative industries in the city. And that experience basically led us to a conclusion that in order to support the sector, the creative sector, the best way, among other things, is to connect them with the traditional industries, and that's what we do. That's what we do in our project, Labor for Future, but that's also what we do in other projects and other activities. We are basically connecting creatives, artists, designers, with SMEs from traditional industry sectors. In this case, in the case of this project with the plastic sector, we organize residencies, we organize a direct collaboration, but not on a design, not on a product update, but on value chains and on reshuffling the business models of those SMEs to be more sustainable and more circular. And we really had that knowledge and that experience that if you do the matchmaking right, results are really amazing, because what creatives bring is totally different approach, exactly capability to work in a very flexible systems and networks, with very limited resources, thinking out of the box. And although always those collaborations starts with some kind of skepticism from both parties, from the creatives and from the classical industry, what we now have, for example, in this project, Labor for Future, is a couple of companies that are basically scaling and expanding their markets based on the reshuffling and working together with creatives on the value chain from the plastic industry. So it's totally unexpected cooperation, but that's what we do. And then we are trying to connect all of that with the policy level, on a city level, but also on a regional one, because we also think that creatives can put input, valuable input into that, into the way the policies are designed. And yeah, that's maybe not that short, sorry, but that's what we do in this project and in general.
Excellent. So important, creative and cultural industries. It's what differentiates us of ChatGPT at this moment. Okay. So thank you very much. I hope we have with us José Antau. Welcome. Obrigado. Okay, José is coordinator of the Innovation Policy Unit at the Portuguese National Innovation Agency, overseeing business areas of knowledge transfer, deep tech startups, innovation procurement, intelligence, and smart specialization. The latter as Deputy Coordinator of the Portuguese Smart Specialization Strategy. And again, excellent to have you here to explore this coming future on coordination between national and regional levels. So please, go on.
Thank you very much. It's all right.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. It's also a pleasure to be here. Especially we have a kind of an Iberian sandwich right here, except typically we think more of the Iberian part as the inside, not the outside, right? So thank you very much. It's a great pleasure to be here. As you're presenting, we at ANI coordinate the National Smart Specialization Strategy, and that's something that, of course, resonates with a lot of this community here. And it has big challenges for regional, national, European coordination of policies. And I think when Tanya was mentioning the capacity that we have for policy making, right? I think it's not homogeneous. We have a lot of divergence between different levels and different types of regions. And this is something that we need to take into account when we think about this integration. So as a national agency, one of the things that we try to do is try to produce as much intelligence as possible that can be useful for each of the intervenients in this ecosystem. In this looking back at the morning session, I think it's great that we have data from these instruments that is being collected and presented to the public. It's not enough. I don't think that's enough because we don't look at those and see, okay, there's some good indicators of how the ecosystem is evolving, of how the regions are progressing, and what achievements we are getting with this instrument. So this is one of the challenges in which we see the role of the national agency is in helping all of the intervenients in our ecosystem from national to regional levels in getting more information on how to conduct policy. Then the other thing is also to try to create the different streams of policy and instruments that we have to go after the objectives that we have for regional and national development. So at the unit that I work on, we're blessed to work with a range of different policy instruments from, of course, the smart specialization strategy, but also support to deep tech startups, knowledge valorization, innovation procurement, which I think is going to be an interesting topic for these coming times. And so it's a blessing and a curse in a way as well, but the thing is we are in a position to create the synergies, at least at the national level, and then connect with European streams of policy and instruments as well, because we also manage participation in Horizon Europe. We have Interact projects as well. So it's a big thing. That's about what we do. And we also happen to coordinate one of the I3 projects, I3 for Blue Growth, which is part of the reason why we're here today.
Thank you, Jose. So now we have our roundtable full, complete, and it's time to think. But I will start asking you questions, but please look ahead, because I think we need to look to the future. We have a very concrete framework, okay, at this moment. We have a draft for the next MFF. We have a competitive business fund that is being discussed at member state now, okay, member state level, and many, many questions and things to decide, I would say, no, between member states, between everyone. No? So this is the excellent moment to think how I3, the I3 instrument, can really relate to this new framework based on your experiences, based on what you have developed during the past, but looking ahead. So please, with this in mind, Arthur, you are involved in the Elevate CE. What can we learn from this project, and how would you take those lessons learned for the future developments?
Tricky questions, because Elevate CE is just starting, but Funny thing is that when we submitted project in November last year, with the team which has been preparing the project, a few months later, we started to prepare a new project with the core team. And this is one of the biggest benefit of this I3 facility. We are trying to find a sustainable partnership for the topics which are really, we have to solve them. And energy and climate change and hydrogen is one of that. We are coordinating this project. And we have partners from Austria and Hungary, and one from Belgium, but it's just for the communication. And it was really nice to have this creating this project, and a few months later creating a large hydrogen valley project. And I must say we have been good in preparing that project. We passed through the evaluation. We were not financed because we have been just below the financing allocation, but we are not giving up. We will continue. And to your question, how we can really create something which will be sustainable, long-lasting, we have to think more widely. Slovakia is very small. You said you are a small country, but Slovakia is even smaller country. 5 million inhabitants, it's really peanut, it's nothing. And if you look on the European Innovation Scoreboard, we are on the far end, really. We are probably the last one, or, well, one before last. So it's really horrible to talk about that. But we are not giving up. Beside the fact that our government is not allocating too much money into the R&D or innovations, we are trying to find and mobilize stakeholders, key players in industry to be part in the project like I3 project. And capacity building, where we are now, it's precisely the perfect instrument to share the experience from Austria, and they are far behind us, in front of us, doesn't matter. They're much better in certain things. We can learn, we can share, we can improve, and we can really mobilize the stakeholders. And this is the key. What I would like to suggest to the managing authorities of I3 or policymakers, think about possibility not to give one project to the consortia, because we are capacity building, it is the starting point, but we have other stages. Think about providing possibility to better evaluate the project which started with the capacity building and step by step going into the investment project. This is just suggestion, because we try to do it, and I think it makes sense, because if there is a good consortia, there is a way how to make other projects more advanced projects. So this is one of the suggestions I would like to share with you. Of course, we don't have results yet, but we will have. I'm pretty sure, because the consortia which we created is powerful. And what we want to do is really to create the platform on which we can build the future projects, the future opportunities, the future investment in hydrogen, which, as I said, it's kit with mixed approach or mixed acceptance, but it's kit which will grow and which will bring us, I think, some benefits for the future.
Thank you. I think it's perfect. And that is the mission, no, of the capacity building strand. No? Yeah, I am also participating on one of projects, Meta Heritage. The team is here. Okay, and exactly, we are in the same situation. We are building new ideas, new projects, new proposals. So that's perfect. Thank you very much. Stefan, you are actively involved in shaping the future of cohesion policy post-2027, participating in working groups at the I3 and S3, community of practice levels, as well as in coordination effort at Croatia national level. What kind of references could you share on today's topic from your experience?
Well, yes, the discussions are happening every day, and I'm very grateful to being included in those discussion groups also on the I3 level and S3 community of practice, because you gain knowledge talking with other regions, other countries, and trying to see if it fits your model. I mentioned that Croatia main efforts have been trying to raise in competitiveness of regions that are lagging behind, and we have our model, we have our tools in that process, but you always have the opportunity to improve that model. So one of the ways is being included in those discussions and taking this opportunity to learn from each other. What we have developed in Croatia is having a strong focus on developing our value chains and really knowing our territory. So I think that's the main task for your region. If you're coming from the national level or the regional level, or you're in a municipality or in a city, you have to know which are your stakeholders, which are your research organizations, your companies, and what are their priorities or their potential. So we did that, and we have established a continuous call for joining regional value chains. And those regional value chains came from a really 2 to 3 year discussion with those companies and those researchers and the communities. And we have a big help also from our regional development agencies. Some of them are also here with us today and are part of I3 projects and will be part of future I3 projects. From that priorities, you can identify common topics or areas. We have heard about that in previous presentations in this morning. So from one part, you have to know what is the potential of your stakeholders and your territories, and on the other hand, you have the European Commission being very clear on the priorities for the raising of competitiveness. And then my ministry is in the position to combine and looking for synergies to connect these two areas. What I believe it is the future of the I3 instrument, and I can relate very strongly in what we are currently doing in Croatia, and we are also seeing all the results from these efforts, is trying to really identify and strongly communicate what are the priorities for the European Union, and then giving opportunity for the regions to make them visible on the innovation map. So I think that a really strong effort has been done within the I3 instrument, and as I mentioned, I can relate that, and we are always trying to implement the models that are shared today, also tomorrow at my ministry.
Thank you very much. Excellent work, because that's one of the typical difficulties, no? The transmission of information opportunities and the coordination of the actions. I really like it, your introduction, Tana, and how you challenge, no, the public, all of us, with the reality of synergies. No, you have talked about fragmentation of a broad range of tools. What would be your specific recommendations for better coordination between national level, regional one, and perhaps even the European one? No?
So I think that we have to all do our homework, meaning we have to communicate with each other inside a country. I completely agree that we are all different and our systems are different. But what I learned from my colleagues in RIMA is that we all face the same challenge. We do not talk enough and we do not coordinate enough. I have one experience. We had an informal network like this between regions and the national level, based really on persons who wanted to change things. And finally, we managed to coordinate each other, even if not all the regions were involved. And when suddenly we put, let's say, national stamp on it, and we created a coordinating platform, we found ourselves with half of the platform that did not understand fully what we were talking about, because they were not engaged in this. They did not believe that this was a problem. So they were actually nominated by their agencies, by their bodies, but they did not have their heart in it, let's say. So there is no one medicine. I suppose that in each of the country it's different. But my experience is that it's good to coordinate, to have some kind of platform, but to have people who understand the fragmentation, who understand the instruments, and who understand the mechanisms to actually exploit these synergies from those instruments. And this is extremely difficult to find people like this across the country at regional and national level. This is very difficult, but I think that we all have the same challenge. And we will have to link it now to the EU policy level, which is changing everything, and we will have the competitiveness seal, and we will have to align with it. And I think that it's really worth it, because otherwise we will lose money. I mean, if we have a fragmented system, we are just losing money, and we do not exploit the investment that we put in the instruments.
That's, in my opinion, very much related to capacity building. And of course, this is what I understand I3, the I3 instrument is looking for, no? Even the S3 strategies should be oriented to this capacity building and coordination, but excellent. Marco, what mechanisms do you see as most effective for combining I3 support with mainstream programs to deliver a bigger impact, real impact in regions?
Well, that's a very tricky question, but I would like to totally agree with what Tanya has just said. That is something that we are also facing in Slovakia, I would say, and just in connection to that, I would like to say that while S3 or RIS3 strategies are very important, I think that is also important to keep them as open as possible. Yes, it is important to have some priorities, I think, but on a regional level, sometimes those regions are really pushing hard to identify 3 or 4 or very limited number of potential areas or industries or sectors. And I would, based on our experience, I would really argue to keep that as broad as possible. It really helps because that we should focus, I think, more on the really very specific regional strengths than on the aligning with national strategies and having those same areas or those same sectors covered. Sometimes we are heading into that trap that, okay, we have everything perfectly aligned, but then we miss some regional specific strengths that then we are not supporting. And then I also think, and that's why we are massively including that creative sector or CCIs into that, although someone could argue that DG GROW canceled a CCI unit, so maybe like nobody's actually counting on CCI, but I think that they are very important because I think that there are still some open questions. For example, we are all talking about innovation, about R&D, but when you look at the list of the companies in the in the United States that are most investing into the R&D, the first company is Ford. Not Alphabet, not Meta, not OpenAI, but Ford. So now, is that R&D and innovation that we are talking about, or are we talking about, because okay, they are improving their car, so they are investing most R&D per company into their product. But I don't think that when we are talking about Europe competitiveness and all those challenges that we face, that we are talking about that kind of innovation. So I think that skills are very important in that context, connecting with Erasmus+, with all those programs and building on that, also using I3 instrument as some kind of scaling instrument for all Horizon, Creative Europe, or now Agora EU projects, is something that I think it is very important. And then, I also think that innovation, and especially technological innovation, without that interface provided by the creative industries that connect technology with the society, is basically not generating growth or well-being. And when you look at each sector or each area that was defined by the Commission as the key, it may look like as a solely technological issue, but it is not. And I think that insisting and putting into all those programs that creative aspect or including CCIs and inviting them to the table is basically key for keeping digital sovereignty, European values, democracy, but also cybersecurity, green transition, digital transition, you name it. So I would really very much argue for including that what CCIs can bring to the table and can provide in all those programs, because that's what make technology and innovation in general actually scalable and attractive.
Thank you. You remind me of the Draghi's report and the point of the need for create very strong hubs or cluster or networks across Europe to really compete at global level. And this is a difficulty if we are not coordinated. You know, I3 is one of the instruments that could help to create those I would say, European hubs for really strong innovation. But how to do it? Okay, how to do it not just in a small scale, but a competitive, I would say, a global scale. And this is where we find the need for coordinating at all levels, I think. And this is the basis for the next question to Jose. Okay, very short one, not easy one. Why should a national agency be involved in the business of regional development?
The question is short, in fact. Yeah. Is that me? That 1 minute? Okay. Well, I think I kind of argued in the introduction that we have some deficit in the capacity for producing strategy. And I think one of the reasons that we are very invested in this is that we can create the intelligence basis from which the regions can then develop their own policies. Also, we are in an intermediate position, right? We have access to a lot of the information from the European Union that each region does not have, and also at the same time, each region, as I was saying, is different in terms of their size, in terms of their bureaucracy that deals with these issues. So it's very important that we have some sort of a normalization aspect to our intervention. And also, I guess, I think I'm friendly to the idea of a Europe of regions, but we are also still a nation, so I think we also have to create the conditions to work as a unified nation within the borders. But now, if you allow me just to say a little bit about our participation in the I3 project, and I think also one thing that I think is important about this instrument is that when we look at this fragmentation in Europe and several other things that we think about Europe and we think as obstacles or problems that we have, sometimes they also have a good aspect to it. And I think sometimes we just don't use it in that, from that perspective as well. And I think the I3 instrument is one such example in which we can think of regions on the one hand as laboratories for testing new things. And I think sometimes here we have, for instance, an example from the Azores, one of our outermost regions, which is within the project, they are implementing sort of a mission on the blue economy based on both their S3 strategy and on the findings of the project. And I think on smaller ecosystems like that, you can test the implementation of new things. And on the other hand, it's also the fact that when we have the possibility for using these instruments, we can also connect some of the regions, and I think, sorry, I can't see the name, the colleague from Croatia was saying how the country is so different between the different regions. We find that also in Portugal, but I think some of the regions will find very close similarities to regions in Croatia, for instance, and they can tackle those, gain scale, and also look at the public sector also as clients. So there's a lot of connections here, and I think the national agency has a very strong role to act as a promoter of some of those developments.
And even more in the future. So,
Sorry?
even more in the future, no?
Even more in the future, yeah. That's a long discussion.
So yeah, it's very interesting. Perhaps next year. Okay, I don't know, because it's 2 o'clock, we should close, but I don't know if we have some minutes for, yeah. One question, be quick. No questions? No questions? Yeah, yes. Thank you.
Hello, this is Javier from Castilla y León, Spanish region. The S3 smart specialization strategies where Europe responds to fragmentation. So the question is very, very easy. Were the S3 the solution for the fragmentation? Yes, no, perhaps?
I cannot answer that because I should, I want, but I need to let them. Who wants to comment? Please, please.
I don't know if I have a clear answer, but from the perspective of the Czech Republic, I would say that it helped us a lot to get together actually, and it would be a solution then. But as I said, on the strategic level, it's very well aligned, but not on the implementation level. That is the problem. So yes and no. The strategy, yes, but the implementation then, when everybody does on its own, it's another fragmentation element, let's say.
And if I may, I truly agree with Tanya, what she said. Having a strategic framework which represents your territory. And in Croatia's case, we have a specificity. So we have the national S3, but we have a regional lens also going even deeper and looking for those innovation pockets and you have different territories. We have Croatian islands, we have some potential. We have mountainous areas, assisted areas, cities, rural areas. So you can find innovation in all of those places. And then the other part is the visibility of your country, your regions, with those priorities or those area or those topics or those missions through which you can develop new innovative products or solutions. So yeah, surely a strategic framework should be there for each of the region because it allows you to be more visible and it aligns all the stakeholders vertically and horizontally. And one other thing which is really relevant, what we have done is having this multi-sectorial approach to value chains. And as Marco said, having the creative industries in the packaging section of developing agri-food products, it's one of the examples. And setting that in your strategic documents, in your S3s or your plans for industrial transition, is really important for the stakeholders to see what are the opportunities and how they can join those value chains.
One suggestion for the fragmentation and how to decrease the fragmentation or improve fragmentation is capacity building. I think I can show it on the example of Marco because Košice has been European capital of culture and developed the capacity inside the city to support creative industry. And they are still keeping it. So once you develop or build capacity, you can grow. And once you grow, you can improve a lot of things. So capacity building of I3 is perfect tool to create the environment where fragmentation will be decreasing and we will be more focused on the goals and not on the, well, whether it's national, local, in the sense, okay, to align our forces, because we don't have enough money for doing everything. We have to align our forces, align our resources. So capacity building is one of the answers.
Any other? I can go.
Well, I hesitate. I think a lot of the fragmentation comes from the collective notion that we all have about what it means to be in Europe, right? And I think there's a lot of protectionism. You come from a region and a lot of people come from regions. And I think there's a strong focus on protecting your own or developing your own. And I think for you to have this integration, I think I3 goes in that direction, right? Because it creates the conditions for connections between value chains and actors in different regions. But if you look, for instance, at other dynamics, like I was mentioning about, for instance, public procurement or support for national projects, I think that reinforces the regional and the national dimensions of Europe rather than the bigger markets and the biggest policy level of the European Union. So I think there's and also, of course, there's the implementation, which was mentioned already.
Okay, yes, I need to say it. I think S3 was a very good idea, and because we needed a European approach to innovation and a methodology, you know, and I would say capacity building for everybody. We still need it. Probably we need to make it evolve, and the Commission is working on that, to evolve the instruments and ensure that all of us that we are here, we have ideas on how to improve it. But if without it, where we will be? No, it's a question. Thank you, thank you. Thank you very much to all of you. Okay, thank you to the attendance, and looking forward to continue.
Thank you. Thank you very much for this session. Regional perspective, regional growth, lots of interesting insight, differences, similarities between different regions, fragmentation, collaboration. And we'll continue with the collaboration. So we'll have one more session about regional development, but then we'll focus also on how to align this regional development to the EU and the EU strategic priorities. And the discussion already started a little bit with how the EU is and acts and behaves. And we can continue that discussion. And for the next session, I want to introduce my colleague Erik Koch from ESMEA. He will moderate the next session. Please, welcome to the stage.
Good afternoon. My name is Erik Koch from the ESMEA agency. I'm head of sector for the A3 instrument. And actually, Sander, if I may, I would like to steal 1 minute before I start with the session, because I would like to thank a few people here, because for us it's a very special moment. I mean, for my team and me, it's the first A3 forum. We have had coordinators meetings in the past, but this is the first complete package, if you want. So the first political day with all regional stakeholders and coordinators, and then tomorrow the coordinators day. So first of all, thank you to my team that is here in the room, hidden amongst you. Can I ask my sector to stand up, please, once and show your hands? So, thank you. Special thanks to Maya, who's sitting here hiding a little bit, but she's really the master of all this, coordinating with the I3 support facility contract, who I also thank. Then I would like to thank the regional colleagues that are here. Tomislav Pinter, always around somewhere, who is helping. Wolfgang, I will introduce you in a minute. And of course, a special moment also today for Francesca Doria, the head of unit here in ESMEA, I1, the new head of unit. Actually, she came last week, literally last week, from DG Research. And I think, Francesca, after 1 week, you can say you have already become a real fan of the A3 instrument. Then next to Francesca, Gérald Curto, obviously, the deputy head of unit. Many thanks as well to you. And not to forget, of course, all you guys, all the stakeholders here and the coordinators. I'm really looking forward also to tomorrow. I mean, today's discussion has been really great. I don't know to how many people have spoken already, but I can tell you that what I hear is the atmosphere is great, and I'm looking forward to tomorrow. Just a little hint to Inns. Where is he? Inns, tomorrow. Please bring your space cookies from outer space to the event. It might enrich the debates and the activities tomorrow and the tomorrow event. Okay, right. Let me now introduce this new session, which is actually complementary to what we just discussed. We have heard now in this session with Antonio that how I3 product outcomes are aligned with the regional policy strategies on the spot in the regions. Now we want to learn more about how all I3 projects actually line up with the European EU priorities. And for that, I'm really glad to welcome three very competent colleagues and stakeholders here to the stage. First of all, we have Marek Pszor. Marek Pszor is a policy team leader in DG GROW. Then in the order of presentations that will be done comes Francesco Molica, the director of EURADA. Here. And then, of course, Wolfgang Munch from DG Regio. He is, yes. Wolfgang is a senior expert in the DG. Okay, just on how we will proceed in the next minutes. So we will have a presentation by each of the speakers, about 10 minutes. I will ask a follow-up question, and then hopefully we'll have some spare time for you guys to ask your questions. So with that, I'd like to hand over to Marek. You have the floor.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm very happy to be here. And first of all, I would like to thank you all people who operationalized the concept we had in DG GROW, in DG Regio, at the time when it was created, with many people working on this. It was concept and put in the legislation, and suddenly now it's in place, and I know many people needed to operationalize it, and without the operationalization we wouldn't be at the stage where we are. I'm in DG GROW now, so let me present you very helicopter and top-down view on industrial policy. I think this is quite important what I'm saying, and you know, our industrial policy particularly was steered through a strategy of industrial policy which we published in 2020, and then it was green, digital, and EU at the global stage. And then after COVID, we actually added the element of resilience. And since then, of course, geopolitically, a lot of happened. And right now, particularly, we don't have new communication industrial policy. However, the competitiveness compass is the one which actually gives direction in which we are moving. So you see these three main vertical points, and particularly after Draghi report and after Letta report, the diagnosis was done, and now the Commission in January 2025, the new Commission came with with the package of plans for the next 4 years. And this is actually what determines the industrial policy very much. So you see, the first one is the closing the innovation gap. Many of you would be interested. There are, of course, many initiatives in this. one of the most important and startup and scale-up initiative. Now still Innovation Act and the consultation is going on, so you are always welcome for this. And I believe, which I hope particularly, personally, Regime 28, so that we can have innovative companies growing in the EU to come. Decarbonization competitiveness, of course, with a Clean Industrial Deal we published in March this year, and this is going to promote, of course, clean tech, but as well reaching out the decarbonization goals. And then, last but not least, and maybe extremely important at this moment, resilience and security with SAFE, which was done during the Polish presidency. Instrument, very important, but as well the preparedness strategy and IMERA. So basically here building value chain. So this is kind of background for industrial policy, which is very much regulatory. And there's the whole timeline of different initiative in the Decarbonization Competitiveness. Circularity Act, for example, is very important. Coming, there will be Industrial Acceleration Act. So many different instruments coming, and this is of course very much top down. This is but one big principle is behind it, and after the Draghi report and Letta report, it's very clear that we need to have scale and speed. Scale and speed. And again, scale meaning that we want to make more really impactful flagship investments, but as well we want to make it faster, so simplification is important. So for the simplification, there is a series of packages of omnibuses that the European Commission proposed. For example, today, there was agreement reached with European Parliament, Commission, and the Council on InvestEU package, which theoretically adding 2.9 billion euro into guarantee leverages for having 50 billion more investment, but as well, simplifying the process for the organizations which are used as intermediary bodies. Simplification. Single market is another one, which is extremely important, and 450 million people, and we still have services level of at the same as it was 20 years ago. Basically, there's no movement in services for 20 years in the single market. There are problems in establishment of companies. There is problem of recognition of qualifications. And we have identified 10 main barriers. So we will single market, eliminating single market barriers is extremely important, as we are not using this potential that we have. Financing competitiveness. So after Draghi, of course, the fragmentation of the capital union. Skills, we are going to continue with the Pact for Skills, and we have Net Zero Academy Net Zero Act Academy, for example, the very practical work with industry, and coordination tool, which is going to be to align really the policies, EU and national policies at EU level. So the main principle, therefore, so the next. This is kind of regulatory, which is going on, and there is European Parliament, European Council working with us on this. So simplification and making it faster for businesses to do investments in Europe. So the next MFF should focus strongly on competitiveness priorities. So we have the Competitiveness Fund, and here we want to cover the whole life cycle, from very much research, but to manufacturing, manufacturing. And I read today there's a report published on Horizon regarding TRL level today. Actually, it was. It seems 68% of all projects are up to TRL 6 in horizon. Yeah? This is so it's clearly the TRL higher level that we are aiming 9+. And not only TRL, but we try to put into discussion the not technological readiness, but commercial readiness level, market readiness level, still something to be developed at the EU level. But private investment, I mean, without private investment, we will not make it. So definitely we need to have leverage. So EU funding, as today with InvestEU, for leveraging, for bringing the capital from the market, and maybe mobilizing as well the capital which is sleeping in Europe from pension funds, for example, which we are not using for investments. So strengthening the single market, this is our mantra right now. MFF, you probably know it very much. I want to concentrate on this European Competitiveness Fund, because this is like financial expression of the directions we want to go in. And there are 4 priorities, the priority areas mentioned then. There is decarbonization and clean transition. There is health, biotech, and agriculture. There is digital leadership, and there is security resilience. These 4 areas, you can call it top-down priorities from the EU. And for this, 400 billion euro is foreseen in the European Competitiveness Fund. I will not go into details today. We had as well the cluster talks when we discussed. You can go in the WW Cluster Collaboration EU. There are cluster talks. You can see a recording of presentation of this European Competitiveness Fund today. I would like to mention some interesting instruments which could be of interest for, particularly for the Interregional Innovation Investment participants. There's Article 16, which is about value chain builder. And I think this is exactly which is going to respond what we want this instrument to respond on, to build resilience and diversified supply. There is ramp-up production investments instrument. There is planned high-tech frontrunners instruments, and there is another instrument which is planned EU for business, particularly for business support organizations. So basically, in wrapping up very much, because in 10 minutes, as much as I can say, top-down is identifying some particular areas which from the EU perspective are extremely important, yeah? And as well suggest a series of instruments, particularly in order to simplify access to finance, access to skills, access to market, and go reaching out to international partners, opening the doors to India, to Latin America. And I mean, we know right now the geopolitical situation, so we are looking for partners in order to ensure supply. Thank you.
Many, many thanks, Marek, for this very interesting presentation. Actually, if you see when you see the numbers, these astronomical numbers, if I may say so, trillion, I didn't know the word existed. But independent of this, I think you very nicely put the context, and I think it is something that is where I3 instrument perfectly fits. And so that's a reassuring message also for the community, I guess, for Europe. And here comes my question also as a follow-up to this, because you're coming from DG GROW. So how do you see also the I3 instrument, how can we boost then industrial cooperation in the EU?
First of all, I think why developing the concept of I3, we were very much forward-looking already in 2015. We thought what would happen now. No, I'm joking. But this is the collaboration across EU is still missing. Yeah? We are not using fully the single market, and the I3 is exactly going in this direction, particularly if we are talking about investments in securing value chains. And as quoting our President von der Leyen on state, we want to have made in Europe value chain. So this is exactly going in this direction. So in DG GROW, basically we try with the instruments that we have, like industrial alliances. For example, there's Hydrogen Alliance, solar, industrial actors from all over Europe to work together and finding the possible investments. I'm responsible for cluster policy, so in clusters we are doing everything in order to bring different clusters together to work in Euro clusters. So this integration element of industrial collaboration is on the agenda, besides all the simplification. I think the key will be, if possible, and it happens, the regime 28, to enable really the innovative companies to grow and to use the potential of the single market, because right now we are extremely fragmented and the single market is not working in many areas, energy, telecommunication and so on, which was mentioned in Draghi. So the European integration is the process which is going on, and I'm Polish. I joined in 2004, and I thought I'm joining to four freedoms, and I know after 20 years that the four freedoms are not there, particularly capital, and you know there's lots of work to do, but for this you need co-legislators to act together with the Commission.
Well, many thanks for this insight from DG GROW, and I warmly recommend actually the i3 Observatory report that will be published in the next days, because there you will see that industry is very well represented in our 70 projects. So please do so and have a look. And I would like to now hand over to the next speaker, giving a regional perspective from the ground, from the regional development agencies, ORADA. Francesco, you have the floor.
Yeah. Thanks a lot, Eric. I'm delighted to be here indeed to contribute the regional perspective to this very topical session and represent ORADA, not least because many of our members are very much involved in supporting the implementation of i3 projects. I would start by arguing that Marek has pretty much outlined what are the strategic objectives now that have been clearly articulated in the Draghi report, and upon which the new competitiveness agenda of the EU is predicated, right? But my impression, and this is not only my impression, this is the impression of many local and regional stakeholders, of many scholars that or experts in the field of regional development and economics, is that the policy debate and the public discourse around these strategic priorities, such as decarbonizing the economy, bridging the innovation gap with China and the US, reindustrializing, achieving leadership in a number of emerging technologies such as AI, quantum computing, you name it. These discussions are pretty much, for now at least, or are not paying enough attention to the local and regional perspective. And the local and regional perspective is very much important because, after all, compared even to other territorial settings, such as the US, for instance, Europe is very heterogeneous in terms of geographic characteristics, and it is very heterogeneous in terms of industrial and innovation specializations and capacities. I'm stating the obvious here, but this needs to be said anyway. So when you're going to translate these strategic ambitions into policy measures, it's this one. No. But this is going. Okay. You have to take into account that there are a certain number of factors at regional level that, which I've listed here, well, many of them at least, that pretty much influence the implementation of these measures and require, therefore, a degree of a place-based approach within these policies. Otherwise, there's a risk that you may end up entrenching or reinforcing existing regional disparities and existing innovation divides. And if you, in fact, only benefit some regions over others, you risk jeopardizing these same strategic priorities, because you cannot think to achieve them only by focusing or by supporting or by benefiting 20 to 30 regions that are leading in terms of innovation and industrial capacity. right? So when you think, for instance, at the knowledge structure and economic specialization of European regions, right? You can clearly see, I can make it. It's this one. Ah, okay, sorry. You can clearly see, and I have here extrapolated to one chart and one map from some recent studies. One plots the technological capabilities in terms of AI proxied by patents, right, which is a metric that it is used, right, to measure the innovation capacity. And the other one on green patents. So on the one hand, you can see that the curve is very skewed toward a very restricted, limited number of regions. And on the other hand, you can see that the regions that have more patents in terms of green innovation, that for the regions that have stronger innovation capabilities in terms of green technologies are the purple one, right? You can see that there's a strong concentration at regional level. Now, how you go about it when it comes to strategic ambitions? Of course, we know very well that technological and innovation know-how travels across regions. And how it does travel? It travels through inter-firm collaboration, it travels through value chains, it travels to foreign direct investment, hence the importance of the I3 instrument, right? And of course, these maps, these charts, they do not tell the whole story. Because the whole story is that in those regions that are green there, and in those regions that cannot be seen that are on the right spectrum of the curve, from me that I see it, there are many specific niche specializations which may not be yet fully part of growing networks in terms of innovation that needs to be put in contact with the main innovation hubs in Europe, right? And on the other hand, those regions that have strong technological capabilities, right? Those technological capabilities, after all, are feeding into processes that are part of broader value chains. And in these value chains, you have many different, knowledge and technological specializations that are more or less complex, that go from low value-added technologies and sectors to more complex ones. Right? So, hence the E3. The I3, is to put all of this in connection, to connect more all this. Because, and this was said also by Marek and by you, we know very well that there's a strong potential in terms of interregional cooperation, which is not used, which is not exploited for now. This is another paper, very good one from Julia Bastrogler, Ron Boschma, Pierre-Alexandre Balland, showing that, essentially, and this is a map about interregional collaboration in green technologies. It shows, we knew this very well from the theory, but this is the empirical proof of it. It shows that most of the collaborations are happening either within national borders or among neighboring countries, right? Which means that there's a big potential that is still there and not exploited. Why? Because there is a lot of information asymmetries. A company in Calabria, which is my home region, may not know that it might have complementarity in terms of what it does, and therefore build let's say, a collaboration with another company, which on the technological value chain is higher, in, I don't know, the Northern Netherlands, right? And this is where the I3 is very much important. And I think there is, you don't need more evidence to make the case for the I3 instrument to be not only extended into the next programming period, but also to be reinforced, right? Because, again, when you look at this, the strategic ambitions of the EU may not be reached if you do not tap this potential. So this, I think this is very clear. This is very clear to me. This is very obvious to us. Now, coming to the I3, why, I clearly stated why it is important, in my perspective, to reinforce and expand this instrument in the future. And therefore, I must say that representing an association, a stakeholders association here, we're a little concerned about the future of I3, the future fate of I3, because we were expecting to see an explicit mention to the i3 instrument in the post-27 regulation, in this NRP's regulation, whatever you call it. I don't remember the name of this mega fund because it's a bit too long, and I'm not good at memorizing these things. And instead, we found no specific mention. Now, we know that there is a reference to interregional innovation cooperation under the EU facility, so we realistically expect that this would provide a good legal basis for then establishing the i3 instrument even under the post-27 programming period. But we think that a step behind was done compared to the current period, because in the current period you had a dedicated article, or at least a comma on it, and also with a already standalone allocation. Which was in the beginning a little bigger, then it was unfortunately reduced, then the program, as you know, was hijacked for very other reasons and redirected to other priorities, but still it's there, and it is working a lot. We have proof of it today. So, yeah, I'm just seizing the opportunity to say that we hope that then the instrument will not disappear or will not be diluted and downscaled because of this legal missing in the current regulation.
Francesco, many thanks for this. Another reassuring message, despite the little criticism in the end, obviously, in the based on the current MFF proposal. But I want to thank you, actually, because I read your paper, your position paper, after the publication of the MFF proposal. And, I mean, you have the advantage of having a freedom of speech. We're at the Commission a bit more probably bound by certain framework. But so I would like to ask you as a follow-up question, an answer probably you can do in 30 seconds. The crystal ball question, how do you think will the i3 fit into the next MFF, actually?
I think when you look at the priorities that have been set for the next MFF, the i3 is supposed to be one of the main instruments in helping to translate these priorities into practice, realize these priorities clearly, right? So when you look at the importance of, for instance, I mean, the strategic priorities that have been discussed, when you look at the necessity, which is existential, to build more EU value chains, to reduce the dependencies from external, extra-EU countries, which can be achieved by encouraging more interregional cooperation. When you look at the fact that we need, I believe, and I agree with Marek, we need to have a more strategic and top-down approach to some priorities in order to overcome the current fragmentation which exists, right? Therefore, in order to make sure that the top-down priorities meet the bottom-up needs, expectations, capabilities, you need more interregional cooperation to achieve this coordination, right? Which is also pretty much at the heart of the competitiveness agenda with the coordination mechanism, instrument, I don't know, or framework, I don't know what's his name. So the i3 is all about that. And therefore, again, sorry for stressing the message once again, I think it is indeed a very forward-looking instrument. And it was indeed trailblazing instrument at the time, and now it is an instrument for these times, clearly, and for the future times.
Many thanks, Francesco, from this perspective from the regional, from the spot, from the ground, very important. And now we're entering the home territory of i3 instrument, and that is cohesion policy. And for that, I'm really glad to have Wolfgang Munch with us, a senior expert in DG Regio, and he's also a big fan of i3 instrument.
Absolutely. How can I be something else? Just let me now try to bring. We heard from Marek what the big industrial priorities, the big legislative steps for the future will be, and we heard the need for financing, having a financial instrument that finances concrete ways of cooperation between enterprises. From Francesco, let me try to bring this together. I mean, what you heard in the last month was that we suddenly, as Commission, say again, industrial policy. If you think back, this was a term which we were hardly using anymore. I mean, there were some friends of industrial policy from the more, let's say, directive countries, then there were the others more on the liberal side, but now we are firmly back into industrial policy. We're talking about strategic sectors. We are talking about, and Francesco mentioned this, reshoring, onshoring, nearshoring, because we are all in a kind of different framework now. I mean, open the newspapers and you see it every day, new geopolitical realities, and of course we found out as EU, pure economic power doesn't yield in this new world. So, now I'm flying, but let me now get to the substance here. In this, of course, and we heard the priorities, in these times you always think, yeah, well, you need to be more directive, which is true. But on the other hand, we also need to mobilize ourselves a little bit more. So, for example, closing the innovation gap with China and the US. How can we do this if in Europe the most innovative region is 9 times as innovative as the least one? So we need to mobilize internal potential. Same as what is the next buzzword which I noted, resilience. How can we be resilient in our value chains if we are not exploiting the potential we have? Because what we see is that, and the nice, well, picture we saw, that there is something like the blue banana, you know, this industrial core of Europe. What about the rest? Should they stay less innovative? Shouldn't we try to integrate them somehow? And then, of course, there's the financing. As you know, we have 27 financial markets. And we don't have the depth to finance and scaling up innovation often. So what are all those fantastic things Horizon does with TRL level, what is it, 6 mostly? China and the US and whoever comes, and then they plug the cherries from the cake because they offer much better conditions as they find here. So there is a case of public intervention in this field as long as we don't have a functioning financial market, a European-wide financial market. So these are the big thoughts. And here we go. EU financial, what is this? Okay, let me see. Okay. Anyway, sorry about this. Okay. And then when you look at I3 now, what you see is that, that it fills a gap, because we are exactly doing this. We are not a low-level instrument that is fostering cooperation. For that we have Interreg. Everybody can go, have an Interreg project, you can easily get it, you can cooperate, you can meet, you can discuss. But on EU level, we hardly have an instrument that really looks at EU value chains and foster them, and not only in the blue banana, but connecting the blue banana to those areas outside the blue banana. Because this is about, and Francesco said it, it's one of the ways how you get innovation to those less innovative regions. And not institutionally. There we have enough instruments, meetings, experts. But concretely, you have an SME, group of SMEs or enterprises. They cooperate, they do things, and something concrete comes out, a product, scaling up. So this is what we are doing, and I think this is what hopefully we will preserve in future. We also have, now I think it's the next one. We also have, we have a lack here, because when I come from the cohesion policy, we have always national or regional programs. So cooperation is difficult because of mostly not because of legal obstacles, because legally it all works somehow, and there are provisions that it works. But it's political. Authorities usually don't want to spend their money outside the program area. And this is a difficulty. So here I3 again is having a crucial role, because we can connect all these areas. And what is helping is that we are not excellent. So excellence in comparison to Horizon is not our objective. Our objective is cooperation. Of course, I mean, we have excellent projects, right, Eric? Many excellent projects, but this is not our prime goal. So we are able to get also those players on board which are less excellent, but which may become excellent in the next step. I have still 2 minutes. The other part which we have is smart specialization. I mean, it's a buzzword, we heard it here. It's a regional innovation strategy. And often, for many regions, this was the first time back in 2010, when the first of these strategies appeared in practice. It was the first time within regions, on the subnational level, you made actors in the innovation system sit together, work together on an imagination how this region will be innovative in 10 years' time and what to do. So this is connecting. Again, there's also a cooperation part, but this, of course, because of the political difficulties of cooperation, I3 again fills an objective here. And the other part is, I3 is interestingly not a top-down instrument, but it builds up on local actors, gives local actors space. Does it mean that all our projects are outside EU objectives? No. We have, I think, even 100% of our projects are either aligned with the Green Deal, which is the past, or the competitiveness compass. So regions are able, and actors are able to work for EU objectives, but stay regional. So, and now the last, and we heard the debate about the future. Will we continue? Yes. The Commission, in the Commission proposal of the national and regional partnership plans, we have this tool grounded somewhere. It's in an annex, nevertheless, Annex 15.m, but this doesn't matter. Will we be strategically relevant? Of course. We need to align, and probably a little bit more than in the past. We will have to align more to EU objectives, which we already did, and this is a relief. So I don't think that there will be real big practical changes in this sense. You may think of, should we include large enterprises? Should we? So these are the questions which we have to look at. And of course, cohesion will stay at the heart of it, because this is what makes this instrument so special, and which I haven't seen any other instruments which is in place which is able to do that in this way. So I think we have good arguments for continuation. And you know, now the plans of the Commission are in the open. Now it's on the co-legislators, member states and Parliament to negotiate this. This will hopefully only last 2 years. So for you, this means, since you're all stakeholders and I heard all your pleas, of course, talk to us as Commission, sure, do that, but also talk to your member state, talk to your parliamentarians, raise your interests there, because now it's the time for all the stakeholders to react to the Commission proposal. Thank you.
Many thanks for this cohesion angle, but you're not relieved yet, Wolfgang, because I have also a little additional question for you. And because we have heard so interesting interventions on the far future and the MFF, Wolfgang, do you have any suggestions, recommendations, practically for the next 2 years? 3 years up and running, I mean, full speed. What can we still do to make an argument for the R3 instrument and to convince the high politicians up there?
Well, deliver fantastic projects. And this is what I'm currently, or we are currently trying to do. I mean, many of your projects, because they are really pertinent for EU objectives. We heard hydrogen, we heard others, we heard drones, because don't forget the defense dimension, which is also nowadays a part of cohesion policy. So there are pertinent projects, and I have among the 70 projects such a choice to pull one or the other as an example of concrete value chains which are strategically relevant. So continue doing this. We still have 2 more years to spend all this money which we have. So work together. Since this will continue, maybe you want even to plan a little bit ahead and start preparing projects, because depending, of course, on the budget, which we will get, come up with a pipeline of projects so that you are ready, and you can then go on. And yeah, I think the future starts now.
Oh yeah, Marek, if I may complete. I think, you know, it's interregional innovation investments. Investments, you have return on investment, which counts. So showing return on investment would be very helpful. All the more so that right now, particularly, we are as well in the mindset of RRF. So you have result, and you need, at the end of the day, you need to pay back the debt. And if not us, our children will pay this debt which we are taking now. Meaning you need to have return on investment in order to have leverage on what you have as a debt, because otherwise you go bankrupt, or you are, and these are basics. And I think the change of the mindset is still needed, and I'm shocked that still many people who are talking about MFF don't think in the return on investment perspective. Because this is something that actually not only guarantees that the projects are relevant and are needed in the market, but this is something that will bring enterprises into the EU strategic objectives interests area. So return on investment mindset would be very helpful, and leveraging this is in European Competitiveness Fund, this Invest EU, and leveraging ×4, ×11. Today I heard it was 26 billion euro of InvestEU right now for the last 4 years. We leveraged 300 billion euro. So if we want to receive the amount which is mentioned by Mr. Draghi, for 800 billion euro without private investment, public pension investments, I think this will be very difficult. But in order to get it, you need to think in the mindset of return on investment. And grant is only partially in this. And actually, very many people still think in terms of 100% of grants to be received. And I think it's not the way to get. Thanks.
Well, many thanks. Actually, you helped me sparing my concluding words. So I take it that you had the concluding words. Actually, thanks again, Marek, Francesco, and Wolfgang for these really interesting insights. Really to show that you're not only a hope, the words were not only a hope for the I3 community, but honestly also for the European Union. So it's such a clear match between what I3 wants to do and what the EU wants to achieve, that I'm now happily handing over to Sander because you're a bit stressed now, we're a bit behind. So I don't think we have time for another question from the audience, have we?
It's a lose-lose scenario. Either you have no time for questions, either you lose time for the coffee and the networking. So thank you. Please give a warm applause for all the participants, for Eric.